So most of us, as we think, is data migration is just a push of a button, right? And there are predefined mappings between two systems. So as soon as you say export and import and you click on the button, the data will migrate instantly from one system to another, and you don't have to do any kind of mappings within the source system or the targeted system. Okay, but let me tell you, data migration is a much more complex task than this, right? It's a complex activity that has to be handled carefully, and it needs a separate project plan, a budget, and a solution approach on how to do it right from the start till the end, right? So you need to have weekly deadlines to ensure that your plan is on track, you are migrating data correctly, and there are no surprises at the end. Okay? So if you want to actually do it carefully, always create a separate project plan for data migration, right? And when I say project plan, it should be something like this, right? This is the data migration framework you should be using when you are migrating data, either from FinancialForce to some other system or from any other system into FinancialForce. Okay, so it has 6 stages that you need to go through. Okay, and if your internal team is doing it, well and good, they should also have this framework. If you hire an external consultant who is actually doing it, well and good, they should also be on the same guidelines. So first and foremost is governance, right? So governance is a stage where you see and identify stakeholders and key team members who are going to be the key members for your entire data migration process. Now, those stakeholders can be your business users, those stakeholders can be teams from different businesses, from maybe marketing team, from sales team, from accounting team, whatever team is there, right? And you have to set the goals on what you are trying to achieve through this data migration. So that should be set. Then before you are actually trying to migrate the data from one system to another, try to classify that data, understand your data. Okay, so all data does not need to be transferred from one system to another. There should be certain data which is not required and you don't need to transfer it. You can purge that data, archive that data, and only transfer the data which you think is required to be transferred. Okay, so, and that can only be possible if you have your governance done and you have got your business stakeholders who are actually going to tell you that this is something that I need for my migrated system, this is something I don't require. Okay, and since you are doing it in FinancialForce, the team who is actually a part of that data migration process should very well understand the object nature and limitation, right? If there are any customizations that you have done within your database, right, they have to be taken care of. So first is governance, second is that you have to understand your FinancialForce data, right? Then obviously, since you are migrating data, you have to prepare data at both the source and the destination end. Okay, so export data from existing system and consolidate it. And before you are actually migrating the data, it's very, very important to clean the data from the source system. It might be that there are several records which are missing from your existing source system. There may be inconsistent records. There may be records which are invalid. Okay, so you need to identify those records first and then transfer them from the source system to the target system. If you don't do that, what will happen is all those bad records, all those missing records will ultimately get transferred to the to the target system, and then you are facing double problem because you have got bad data in the source system and you have got bad data in the target system. And once the system goes live, you will have numerous issues where you are pulling in reports and you're getting wrong data because you have not taken care of data cleansing before migration. So very, very important to understand data, clean it, and do a proper field mapping. Okay. Contact field may be something different in the target system, right? So field mapping has to be accurate. Then once you have done your data, prepared your data, okay, test that data in the migration process, right? So we always suggest that don't do data migration as a big bang, okay? So don't do all the records migration in one go. Divide them in phases, follow a stepwise process, so that once you have done, maybe your system needs like 100,000 records to be migrated from your source system to the target system. So divide them in chunks. Step 1 should be write scripts, migration scripts, do field mapping, do data cleansing, and migrate just maybe 1,000 records from source system to target system, and ask the business users to test them out. Okay. If they say that the data is correct, then move to the next step and migrate the next set of data. Otherwise, just correct the scripts of those 1,000 records if there is any problem with it. What will happen then is you are saving yourself from a bigger disaster, right? So keep on following baby steps when you're doing data migration. Divide that into phases, okay? Don't do a big bang data migration that this is done. I have migrated 100,000 records in one go, and now it's up to the users to test it out, and then I will fix them. It will create a great amount of problem. Okay, so do that in phases, and it will be easy for the business users to test 1,000 records rather than testing all the 100,000 records in one go. Okay. Then obviously, once you have migrated, validate that data, whether it's in sandbox or whether it's in production, and never ever do a direct migration from one live system to another. Make a sandbox environment, do the migration first in sandbox, get it tested from your business users, and then only move to production. Because your production is something which is impacting your live users, so you don't want to mess it up. Okay, so try on a testing environment before moving it to live. And then obviously make sure that any triggers or any kind of workflows that you have disabled in the pre-migration process, you do that, you enable them in the post-migration activities. Okay, so this is a basic framework that every one of us should be using when we are using, and this framework is applicable for any data migration now you are doing. It's not just specifically for FinancialForce. It can be for Salesforce, it can be for your accounting system, for any other system.